and today we are covering knife safety. This presentation is to train UNI staff in proper knife handling and ensure safety for all of our staff and students.
Hi, my name is Erica Steinhardt, and I am the registered dietitian at the Agassiz Urban Nutrition Initiative. Every staff member here at the Agassiz Urban Nutrition Initiative participating in hands-on food-related activities must adhere to the rules of our knife safety policy. In order for the Agassiz Urban Nutrition Initiative to ensure that all staff members are taking the appropriate food safety and cleanliness precautions, we make sure that we are all carefully following the food safety policy.
Knives are a very useful tool when preparing food.
But when used improperly, they can be very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Before we begin cutting, we have to properly clean our food prep area. There are 5 steps for doing so. The first step is to cover your hair. Some ways to do so are with a cloth, a hat, a hairnet, a chef's hat. You could also pull your hair back into a ponytail holder or rubber band. The second step is to remove all jewelry and clothing up until your elbow. This includes rings, watches, sleeves. Everything should be rolled up or removed to your elbow. Step number 3. Wash your hands in warm soapy water for 30 seconds. A good way to get kids excited about washing their hands for 30 seconds is to have them count to 30, sing their ABCs, or sing the chorus to one of their favorite songs. In addition, we like to say things like, put your claw in your paw and wash your hands doctor style. We want to make sure everyone is washing their hands up beyond their wrists, cleaning the dirt out from under their nails and all over their hands. Hand sanitizer is a good alternative to hot soapy water if you don't have access to a sink. Step number 4, wash your surface down with our bleach water solution. To prepare that, mix 4 quarts of warm water with 1 tablespoon or capful of bleach. This is a food-safe solution that can be used for surfaces and for cutting boards. Step number 5, clean your cutting board. Use the same bleach and water solution as you used for the surface, but change your towel.
There must be 1 adult per 2 knives in your classroom and at least 2 adults present if knives are going to be used. All students using knives must have constant supervision by an AUNI staff member or certified intern. A permission slip signed by the legal guardian must be on file for each participant at site. Here at AUNI, we want all students to participate with us, but only those in 5th grade or older are eligible to pass our knife safety test and use knives during our programming.
Make sure all UNI staff and students are following our 8 knife principles and 4 basic knife skills at all times.
All coordinators should have a first aid kit on site with them or travel and bring their first aid kit with them to each site that they go to. Check with your nurse's office at each of your schools and see what the policy is for any injuries or accidents.
Knife principle number 1, cut flat. You want to get your food item flat as soon as possible so you can cut safely. Round items have a tendency to roll around on the cutting board, so cut one or both ends to make it flat. Round items also have a tendency to roll off of the table onto the floor. If food touches the floor, it is no longer safe to eat. Please compost any fruits or vegetables that fall on the floor. Knife principle number 2, don't chase a cutting board. Moving cutting boards can be very dangerous. To keep your cutting board from moving around, place a mat or a damp paper towel underneath your cutting board. Securing your cutting board will keep you from chasing your cutting board around and will keep you from a dropped or mishandled knife.
In order to prevent cross-contamination, It's smart to use different colored cutting boards so we're not cutting foods that can get cross-contaminated on one cutting board. If your program allows you to use meat, choose a red cutting board for any meat, fish, or poultry. Otherwise, choose blue for dairy and green for fruits and vegetables. You can take it one step further if you'd like to prevent your cutting boards from smelling like garlic and onions. On the back side of flexible cutting boards, designate a GO, that stands for garlic and onion, and only cut garlic and onion on that side of the cutting board.
Knife principle number 3, knife height. Students should never lift their knife more than 6 inches above the cutting board. There are circumstances where uni staff may need to lift their knife more than 6 inches above their cutting board, like cutting a watermelon. Uni students should never cut more than 6 inches above their cutting board. This is beyond the safe zone of cutting. Knife principle number 4, knife travel. Uni students should never travel with a knife without permission from a uni staff member. Once they are granted permission, students can travel with only one knife at a time. When traveling with a knife, uni staff and students should hold the knife firmly in their hand, next to their hip, with the tip pointing to the floor and the cutting edge facing behind them. No matter how corny it sounds, you need to scream, "Knife, knife, knife," when traveling with a knife. Everyone in the room should be able to hear you. Knife principle number 5, knife use. This might sound silly, but you should only use your knife for cutting. Here's a few things you should not use your knife for. Do not open a can with your knife. Do not open a bag with your knife. Only use your knife for cutting. Also, don't use the sharp part of your knife for scraping food across your cutting board. Use the dull side of your knife. And if you need to pick food off of your cutting board, don't use your knife. Use your hands. We want to make sure that there is no improper knife traveling. Knife principle number 6, passing the knife. Despite what I learned in restaurants or what you might do at home, when passing a knife, no 2 people's hands should ever be on the knife at the same time. We do this to guarantee knife safety at uni. In order to pass a knife, place the knife down, pull your hands out of the way, and allow your teammate to take the knife from the table. Once again, no 2 people's hands should ever touch the knife at the same time. Knife principle number 7, don't share. Although we highly recommend sharing in general, uni staff and students should not share a knife or cutting board at the same time. When you're done using your knife or cutting board, feel free to share, as long as no 2 people's hands are on knives and cutting boards at the same time. Knife principle number 8, don't abandon your knife. Once you are assigned a knife, you are responsible for that knife until you put it away back in the locked knife box. You must stay with your knife while preparing food, while cleaning the knife, and while putting it away. An abandoned knife is a dangerous knife. Stay with your tool at all times.
We number our knives to keep us safe. We use a piece of masking tape and a permanent marker. That way it doesn't wash off when we wash our knives. Each student that uses a knife will have to sign out their knife on the knife sign-out sheet. Let's say a student takes knife number 2. Before leaving the knife area, they will have to write their name in the out column, saying they are signing a knife out. By the end of the period, the knife will be back in its box, and the student will have signed in the knife in column to signify that they have returned the knife to you. You should always check that all your knives are there in the right order, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on.
In addition to our 8 knife principles, we have 4 basic knife skills. The first knife skill is the claw. You want to form a claw with the hand that you do not write with. Make sure that your fingernails and thumb are tucked at all times and that the flat part of your knuckle rubs against the flat part of the knife. We use the on-top chop when cutting round things like onions or carrots in half. We also call it the tunnel. When using the on-top chop, first, place the point of your knife on the cutting board. Then, place the heel of the knife into the produce item to secure it in place. Place your non-cutting hand on top of your knife to form the tunnel. Once your hands are in place, press down on the knife to perform the on-top chop. Tic-tac-toe is our fun way of teaching kids how to dice. When using the tic-tac-toe, we use our claw and we slice one way and then we slice perpendicular to it to form small squares, just like the game. You may remember the old school paper cutters with the big arm that comes down. Well, the paper cutter's just like that. You want to secure the point of your knife on the cutting board, take your non-cutting hand on top of the knife, and then rock the knife so that you cut the produce using the heel of the knife. The paper cutter is one of our safest knife techniques. If kids feel uncomfortable with any of the other knife skills, feel free to have them use the paper cutter. This is a technique that you'll see very regularly on cooking shows.
No dishes should be left in the sink at the AUNI office overnight. When possible, all dishes and flatware should be washed on site in accordance with our food safety policy. If this is not possible, bring your dishes back to the office and wash them immediately. Be careful when washing knives. Washing knives should always be done separately than the rest of our dishes. This keeps everybody safe. Only those certified in the AUNI knife safety training should be washing knives. That means our staff members and any interns.
Thank you so much for joining us here today and taking knife safety seriously. Again, this is Kristen Schwab from the Agatston Urban Nutrition Initiative. And remember, knives are a useful tool and they are also very dangerous. Follow our 8 knife principles and 4 basic knife skills at all times. In addition to practicing knife safety, remember to engage, educate, and empower.